So, as Janelle said, I am Dusty Ripplemeyer, Reverend Dusty Ripplemeyer. I am the spiritual director of this amazing community. We have a number of new guests with us this evening, so let's welcome them properly. Thank you. Thank you so very much for being here. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. And we follow and practice and teach the teachings of Ernest Holmes. We believe that there is one God, and that God is not some God off outside of us on a cloud somewhere doling out favors and punishments at whim, but is actually a power and presence that is within us and surrounding us, and that it's benevolent and everywhere at all times. We also believe that it is the creative power, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and out of that came everything else. And so we believe that since we were created in the image and likeness of God, that same creative power is within us, so that our thoughts, our beliefs, and our feelings create the experiences of our lives. So if we don't like the experience we're having all that much, then we have the power to create something different, change your thinking, change your life. And so we come together many days, as you can tell by our announcements, throughout the week to really support each other on this spiritual path. And it's a very fun and loving place to be. And speaking of not actually being in the room, but actually inviting us into your rooms, thank you very much. And I welcome all of you online that are including us in your morning through the technology of live streaming. Thank you very much for doing that.
The reading for today is from Ernest Holmes. He writes, "A realization of the presence of God is the most powerful healing agency known to the mind of man. Healing is not a process, but a revelation. For the revealing of the perfect man always heals. The process, if there is one, is the time and thought that it takes to arrive at the correct understanding of man's perfect state in spirit." And so it is.
Hi, welcome to those of you who just arrived in the sanctuary. I see you. The theme for the month of July is Revealing Wholeness, and my talk title today is Healing is a Revelation. Now, since we are in a year whose theme is celebrating a centennial of spirit, 100 years of science of mind, I thought it would behoove us if we would remind ourselves of some of Ernest Holmes' what we believe statements are that are in regard to healing. Now, the first is we believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete freedom from all discord of any nature, and that goal is sure to be obtained by all. The second is that we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind which receives the impress of our thought and acts upon it. The third is that we believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. And the fourth is that we believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. Healing literally means to make whole. Perfect that we're talking about it in a month whose theme is revealing wholeness. Healing literally means to make whole, to restore back to original purity or integrity. It means to make well again, to restore to health, to be free of ailment. It can also mean to bring conflict between people, organizations, or nations to an end or to a conclusion, to reconcile usually with the strong implication of restoring original harmony and warmth. Now, if healing literally means to make whole, then we can go back to our conversation from last week, which was really about wholeness itself. So healing can be about coming to terms. This coming to terms starts with the acknowledgement of the world as it is, both within us and outside of us. We know that we cannot repress or ignore the things that are confronting us, the things that are right up in our face, but instead we must make peaceful and constructive relationships with them because we intuit that those things have something to really add to our wholeness, or not to add to it because you can't, but to contribute to it, to expand upon it. Healing means coming to terms. Healing can also be about expansiveness. In healing, we acknowledge that the various parts of ourselves and our world are not autonomous. Instead, they are members of one large system. And this system contains everything that is seen and everything that is unseen. It is all contained in this one large system. And when we recognize this system, then we realize that it has a synergistic character, and that the whole is always much greater than the sum of its parts. Healing can be about expansiveness. Healing can also be about relationship. In healing, we know that we're individuals, but we also know that we are a part of many different dynamic systems. For example, our families, or our community, or the universe, for that matter. Because of this interconnectedness, neither the individual nor the individual parts of us can be viewed or understood separately. They all interact with each other, and they all interact on a one-to-one basis. But each interplay ultimately reverberates through the entire system, therefore affecting all of the different parts. So healing can be about relationship. And lastly, healing can be about balance. In healing, we have an equal respect for every aspect of our lives. We don't favor one aspect in spite of some other one. We don't, for example, we don't really spend an inordinate amount of time developing our physical bodies at the expense of our spiritual body, or vice versa. Out of this base of equal respect, we do allow certain values to emerge. And allowing those certain values to emerge gives maybe that more value to them. But we also recognize that the contrary is also important. So for example, we may believe or hold a commitment to be a virtue that we value. But on the other hand, we also honor the opposing virtue of freedom, our opposing desire maybe for freedom. In order to reveal wholeness, we have to understand that healing is multifaceted, and healing means very different things to many different people. Healing can be about balance. Now, I believe more often than not, when we think about and wish to bring up what we think about and what we wish to bring about is a physical healing. And more often than not, what we really want is a cure. But what we all really need to understand is that while a cure is always a healing is not always a cure. They are not one and the same. As a minister, I often receive requests from people that want a cure for their ailing parent. They would like their parent's health to be restored back to its glory days. They want them to be perfectly well and vital. Now, without really knowing their mother or their father, without really knowing their parent's personal wish, that is not really a prayer that I can pray. I don't know if they're tired. I don't know if they wish to go home. I don't know if they would really rather join a loved one on a higher dimension. I don't really know what they have in mind when they think about healing. But they also might be thinking about a cure. Now, the possibilities are endless. And those possibilities include a cure, which has been demonstrated time and time again all over the world from many different people throughout time, that a cure can happen through the power of prayer and through the power of prayer alone. As a minister, I often get prayer requests for people wanting a healing around a relationship of some kind. Perhaps it's a relationship with their partner or with a child or with an employer or with a friend. Often the person that's requesting the prayer is very clear about what they think needs to happen for the relationship to heal. This person needs to do this, or this person needs to say that, or this thing needs to happen, or that thing needs to occur in order for the healing to take place. They are very often rigid in their assessment and accepting of really nothing less than what they really think should happen. So with an attitude of my way or the highway, they limit the boundless possibilities that are available for healing. They limit them. The invitation is to be willing to accept the healing in whatever form that it takes. We can't know, we can't see the bigger picture. And when we cloud or resist the healing with our own demands of how it should look, we are not available for the healing power and presence of God to work through us. There's a story that speaks to this that some of us may have already heard, but it never hurts to hear the story again. So the story is about a man who is standing on his roof in the middle of a flood. And as he's standing there, the water is rising and rising. And he is sitting there praying to God for deliverance. Shortly thereafter, someone comes by in a rowboat and says, "Hey, come on, jump in. I'll take you to safety." And the man says, "Oh, I've got this covered. I prayed to God." The water rises even more, and pretty soon a motorboat comes by, and the driver says, "Hey, come on, jump in. I'll take you to safety." And the man says, "No, don't worry about a thing. I've got this covered. I prayed to God for deliverance." Very soon, the water is now up to the man's chest. But right about that time, a helicopter comes by. And the pilot says, "Hey, this is your last chance." And he drops a ladder down to him. The man shrugs him off, saying, "Don't worry about me. I prayed to God." As the helicopter flies off, the man drowns. Sitting in the heavenly abode, he confronts God. What was that about? I prayed for deliverance. And God said, I sent you a rowboat. I sent you a motorboat. I sent you a helicopter. What were you expecting? The invitation is to be open to possibility and willing to accept the healing in whatever form that it takes. Another thought that comes up for me around this idea of healing is that we very often have the belief that we don't have the ability to heal. We look at the circumstances of our lives, the diagnosis, the empty bank account, the failed relationships, the unemployment, the confusion, the doubt, the worry, and the fear, and we see no way to change them or to heal. Now this belief comes out of the mistaken belief that it is through our power, or that it is our power that does the healing, or that it is our intellect that does the healing, but that is absolutely not the truth. Ernest Holmes says, all that the will and the intellect could do is to behold or watch the process. There is but one healer. This is the Spirit of truth. There is but one life principle. This is God in us. We must forever rid ourselves of the idea that it is the personal man that does the healing. We must know that it is not I, but the Father that dwelleth within me that does the work. One of the greatest things that we can really ever discover about ourselves is that we have the power within us to affect our lives. The power is the presence of God, or of the divine within us. Since we are some part of God, then we partake of the healing power of God, but it doesn't happen by us, it happens through us. Healing is the power of God within us, seeking a higher expression of itself. Healing is the power of God within us, seeking a higher expression of itself. The underlying truth is that while things in the world of form can get pretty messy at times, yes? And that while things in our life can appear to be broken, needing to be fixed, and that while our human minds, individually and collectively, can become confused, filled with fear and doubt and worry, and that while our physical bodies can experience dis-ease, and that while we can often become argumentative, reactive, and defensive, the divine remains exactly as it always is, whole, perfect, and complete. Healing can be thought of as getting clear about the inherent wholeness of God that is within us. Healing is allowing that wholeness to shine out from within us in all areas of our lives. Ernest Holmes says, that which really does the healing can never fluctuate, can never change in its nature. It is not more one day and less the next. It is in this moment absolutely all that there is and all there will ever be, and all that is available. One other thought that comes up for me around this idea of healing is that we very often simply want to shift around the context of our lives, hoping for a healing. So we hope to win the lottery to heal our financial issues. We hope to find a new partner to heal our relationship struggles. We hope to find a new job to heal our need for fulfilling self-expression. Or maybe we hope to get a new house or a new car to heal our failing self-esteem. Moving around the content is simply that, moving around the content without healing the underlying cause. The underlying fundamental truth is that we live our lives from the inside out, that whatever exists in the world of form at all must be the result of a definite image of thought that we hold in our consciousness. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs create the experiences of our lives. The world of form is merely a reflection of that which we hold to be true in our consciousness, both consciously and unconsciously. We observe and think, we draw certain conclusions and deductions, and then we incorporate them until at last they become part of our everyday existence. Healing is really accomplished by uncovering, neutralizing, and erasing all false images that we have, that we think about, and letting the perfect idea or ideal reflect itself through our consciousness into the body of our affairs. When we are able to do that, when we realize that everything begins in consciousness, then we will recognize that nothing can permanently heal except right thinking and right believing. A revelation is a moment of sudden recognition, realization, inspiration, insight, or comprehension. It is an awareness of something surprising, of something that we didn't know before, and it often expresses itself in a really dramatic way. Now, my guess is that everyone sitting here this morning can think about a time in their life when they've had at least one revelation, when we all of a sudden had an awareness of something that we had never thought about before, or we had an understanding of something that we had never understood in exactly that same way before, or we all of a sudden had a solution to a challenge that we had been struggling with for a period of time. For myself, I can think of nothing greater than to really experience a revelation in my life, except maybe to witness it in someone else. As a minister, it is one of my greatest joys to see that moment, to be witness to that moment. Raymond Charles Barker, a New Thought leader and author that wrote Living, the Science of Successful Living and the Power of Decision, used to say that whenever he would experience lack or fear or confusion or doubt, he would go into his den, he would close the door, he would get quiet, and he would say to himself, "Barker, you need a bigger idea." Now that is just exactly the kind of revelation that we are talking about, and awakening to the awareness of something bigger, something greater that is seeking to be revealed through us. An awakening that just happens in that moment. Someone after the first service came up and said they had a revelation that morning. And it was so great to come and just have this talk, just reinforce that. And once that revelation is deeply embodied within our consciousness, within our belief system, then it becomes the experience of our lives. As coined by Oprah, a revelation is an aha moment. But she and Eckhart Tolle think about it in a little bit different way. They would say about the new awareness that while we might think we didn't know it before, that in truth we can't have the aha moment unless we did know it before. Oprah says the aha moment is a remembering of what you already knew, articulated in a way that resonates with your own truth. So in other words, it is really a recognizing of something that we already knew. Recognizing, Michael Beckwith word. The bottom line is that the real truths in life are not really new to us. There is that which is deep within us that already knew it, that already understands it, that already remembers it, that is already resonant with it. It's the divine disclosure to humans of something relating to human existence or to the world. It is the act of communicating the divine truth. It is an awakening of the truth within us, and the more we are aware and the more we are awakened, the more we will live that truth in our lives. When we take these two ideas and we bring them together, we arrive at what Ernest Holmes said in today's quote: a realization of the presence of God is the most powerful healing agency known to the mind of man. Healing is not a process, but a revelation, for the revealing of the perfect man always heals. The process, if there is one, is the time and thought that it takes to arrive at the correct understanding of man's perfect state in spirit. Perfect God, perfect man. Healing is a part of our nature, and not because we want it to be, but because it really could be no other way. A healing is a revelation of that inner truth, the sudden awareness of the power and presence of God that is within us in each and every single moment of each and every single day, in each and every arena of our lives. We are never alone. That healing power is always with us. So the invitation today is to get quiet enough, get still enough, and to listen reverently for it and to it. Please repeat after me. I am willing to allow a divine healing to be revealed through me. I am willing to allow a divine healing to be revealed through me. And so it is. And so it is. Please turn within. How good it is to be able to take this time to turn within and to remember that power and presence of God, that love, that light, that creativity, that abundance, that wisdom, that wholeness. And to know that we are one with it, that each of us was created by it, that each of us is a unique and divine expression of it, that golden thread of God's stuff weaves itself throughout all of life, connecting each of us to God, to life, and to each other in ways that can never be broken. And it's from that place of unity, that place of wholeness, that I speak this word of prayer about each and for each and every one of us this morning. Truly knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, that we have imbued with us, that we arrived on the planet with, all that we need to create a life that we love. All that we need to make the rough places smooth, the crooked places straight. To know that in co-creation with God, we can heal our relationships, Heal our bodies. Heal our minds. That truly there is nothing we can't do. Anything is possible. With God on our side, in alignment with all that there is, we truly can do or be anything. All healing is possible. Not just moving around the content of our lives, but actually healing the underlying thoughts. Recognizing them, neutralizing them, erasing them, and having a new thought. Thereby creating a world that works not only for us, but a world that works for everyone. Really one person at a time, one healing at a time. One amazing connection with God and with each other at a time. And I claim ease and grace for us around living our lives in this way. Not fighting or demanding. Yes, having preferences, and yet knowing the bigger picture is known by that inner wisdom within us. And that we can lean into that and allow the healing to unfold in the right and perfect way for everyone. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken, and so I speak them and release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation. Letting go and letting God be God. And I invite you to anchor this prayer for yourself and each other simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is.